My name is Oime and I'm with Mairi, my support worker. We have been working on basically collating information about the benefit reform that's about to happen in the UK. It has taken quite a while to get the information together, and we've both been a little bit, I'd say, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Probably overwhelmed.
Pretty overwhelmed by this. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what benefits are, what PIP is, because not only is this reforming the PIP benefit, it is reforming every single benefit in the UK, which will be PIP, universal credit.
Access to work is being reviewed. They've already made some changes to disability benefits. But there's talk around that. Universal credit, I think. Did you mention that?
Yeah, universal credit, or because it used to be job seekers allowance, then universal credit. And I think they're sticking with universal credit.
Yeah.
But this also encompasses things like your incapability to work assessment.
Yeah.
Which is, I think they're proposing that it becomes a form of PIP now, like the PIP assessment should be the same. So basically we're going to talk about what they're looking at and how that's going to overall impact people in the UK. There's already been some articles that are showing that this reform could push 200,000 people into poverty, basically. So if you don't know, in the UK, we've been going through a major cost of living crisis since COVID. And there's also talk about COVID and the long-term impact on people's health. Mairi knows people who are impacted by long COVID. I know people who are impacted by it. And the fact that the government are not even mentioning COVID as a form of why there's more claimants now for PIP.
Yep.
The amount of waiting lists and the length of time people are on waiting lists for to finally get seen, to then try and get diagnoses, and people getting wrong diagnoses as well.
For sure.
Has a huge toll as well. And, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people around the UK, regardless of whether they claim PIP or not, are sort of being left alone without any support. And now the government are proposing these changes, which is supposed to, help save the country money, mentioning taxpayer money specifically. Yet we have, billions to now arm ourselves and go and fight in more wars. So, it's a huge issue. And that's what me and Mairi are going to talk about. So I think it would be useful to start off with what is PIP, who is it for, and who might claim it. That might be a good thing to start off with.
Yeah.
We've got lots of notes. We're also going to put these notes into the description below. So we've got a full link with resources, citations, links to some of the articles and studies that have come out, as well as petitions by companies like Scope, who are advocating for disabled people's rights. And it has over 100,000 signatures, which means it does have to be taken to the House of Parliament and be discussed now. So, every signature really does count to keep showing your support for disabled people. The disabled community, the disabled label, is something that you will have to take up at some point in your life, either due to a health condition, whether it's temporary, something like breaking your leg, or whether it's long-term, like long COVID or other chronic disabilities, treatments like cancer. Cancer, it apparently affects 1 in 2 people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So being disabled is something that you have no choice in, but it will either happen to you or you will, become disabled through circumstance or through age.
That's it. I think, around this whole benefit reform, there's been a bit of a feeling of, well, I'm not on benefits or I'm not disabled, so I don't really need to interact with this. But that's really, really not the case, because anybody could find themselves disabled at any point in their life, or somebody that is close to them could could become disabled.
Yeah.
And it's really important that everybody does use their voice to speak up
Mhm.
against these proposed changes.
Yeah, so please have a look in the description. There'll be lots of links and information below, and petitions to sign. There's even open letters which have email templates, and
Yeah.
it looks up your postcode. So it takes 30 seconds to type your postcode in, type your name in, and it auto generates an email template to your local MP who you can directly petition to and hope that they also take your
Yeah.
concerns into the House of Parliament, especially for this upcoming discussion.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with just explaining what PIP is. So PIP stands for Personal Independence Payment, and it's a benefit that is there to support people that have long-term physical or mental health condition or disability, or difficulty doing certain everyday tasks or getting around. Um, and PIP is worked out in two parts. It's got a daily living component and a mobility component. Um, and in a nutshell, you have an assessment where you are allocated points against each activity. So, for example, that might be washing and bathing, it could be getting dressed, cooking
Preparing
food,
food,
um, multiple different things. They have a
managing
list of
finances,
medications. Yeah.
medication, staying on top of treatments and medication, um, how you can move around.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of these are already difficult questions that are
I
skewed.
was just going to say that. Yeah.
Because it doesn't take into account other aspects of living, for example, household chores, whether you can have the physical ability to clean,
Yeah.
or get around without relying on other people, or even if you can do these things, what is the knock-on effect of that? Is there a buffer time?
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest misconceptions about PIP is that PIP is for people who are unemployed, sitting at home. There's a very negative stereotype about PIP, and it's regardless of whether you are working or not, you can apply
Yeah.
for PIP. So this doesn't look at your employment, it doesn't
Yeah.
look at your savings, your salary.
It's not means tested.
No, and it's not about if you do or don't receive other benefits. It's literally to assess your daily living and how you get about every day, what sort of help you need or support that you need, and that can be from friends, from family, from a carer, from a
Yep.
support worker, from live-in nurses,
Yep.
from specialist care like physiotherapy or chiropractors or personal trainers or anyone who helps you manage your conditions.
How would we describe the questions?
I would say vague, but
Yeah.
it's also been vague in the green paper, which is one of the
Yes.
barriers that disabled people are facing. A lot of neurodiverse people are disabled, and the wording, the choice of wording, and the choice of questions are so vague and non-personal.
That's it. And I think, at the risk of sounding cynical, I do think it's been quite a tactical move to write such a vague question to not get specific feedback from people. If you ask somebody if we're going to make a change to PIP, surely the feedback and the information given back should be about lived experience and what people feel that they would need themselves, rather than a generalized, well, if you're going to take PIP away, maybe you should think about this or that, because it's not person centered.
Yeah, for
And it's
example,
very, very cleverly done
yeah.
to make it not person centered.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the questions are just outright stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of them, and I'm going to be paraphrasing here because I don't have the document open, but we will link to it in the
Yes.
description. But one of the questions was something like, if these proposed benefit reforms go through, this means that financial support and PIP may be taken away from people.
Yeah.
How can we support these people?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take their support
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
It's like, it's such a stupid question to ask, and it's actually kind of insulting.
It is,
to even ask.
absolutely. I mean, you're asking people who need this support, they need this benefit. Many people are relying on it to pay for their carers or for people to come in and help them. So to say to them, well, if we're going to make these changes and we're going to take it away and loads of you are going to have to go without, what could we do? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just baffling,
Yeah, it is.
the terminology, and actually just for me the whole drive behind the question. You know, it's a
Mhm.
pointless question to be asking people. It's really patronizing.
Yeah. So we're just going to go over some statistics quickly because we just wanted to keep this short today. And one of the questions is how many people are actually on PIP?
So the latest figures go up to January, the end of January 2025, and it states on the .gov website that there are 3.7 million claimants entitled to PIP, and then it has in brackets caseload, which is in England and Wales.
So we don't even know if, because of the confusing language, it says that there's 3.7 million claimants entitled to PIP caseload.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Does that even mean that 3.7 million people are claiming and being awarded PIP? Or does it just mean that it predicts that this many people are entitled to it?
Yeah.
But also, they could just be entitled to the absolute lowest
Yeah,
amount
for
of the
sure.
mobility, which I think is something like £20 a
Yeah,
week or
it's a
something.
nominal amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when looking into, really narrowing down the parameters around what is this
Hmm.
entitled to PIP caseload,
Yeah.
really I couldn't find any information
Yeah.
to help me understand that
It's
further.
been really difficult just to find clarity on a lot of these
Absolutely,
things.
yeah.
And there has been a 2% increase on the number of claimants entitled to PIP since the 31st of October 2024. But the percentages of the highest level of claimants who receive the highest level award, which makes it sound like a trophy as well. It's like
Yeah.
it's a very strange language that they use. But the percentage of people who are on the highest level of PIP is 37%, which is the same level as October 2024. So a lot of the time, the government are going on about how many people are increasingly claiming PIP.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact that it's a very long process to even apply for PIP. It can take months.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And it's taking longer and longer, especially the last year to like 6 months to a year. It's taking over 6 months for people to get an award.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, an answer. And we did actually have some statistics showing how many people were disabled in the UK.
Do you want me to scroll and find
Yeah,
that?
definitely.
Um,
So remember that 3.7 million people are on PIP. However, the amount of disabled people that are in the UK, again, based on reports that we don't really know where they got these numbers from, so it could be grossly underestimating disabled people. But it's predicted that there are 16.1 million disabled people in the UK, which is 24%
Yeah.
of the UK population. And 11% of these people are children, and 23% of working age adults are disabled. So, and then again, the figure goes higher. There's 45% of pensionable age people who are disabled. Again, because of age, it's more likely for you to have lived
Yeah.
throughout your whole life, whether you've got an injury at work or you are more prone to illnesses now that your body's getting older
Yeah.
because of things like COVID. It weakens people, even people who are previously very healthy, very athletic. It can take
Absolutely.
people's livelihoods away. So you could get into an accident at any point and anything could happen to you to become disabled. A lot of the time when people actually get PIP, PIP is the only paperwork you can show to access
Yeah.
concessionary rates and cheaper access to tickets for disabled people.
Yeah.
So it's a very frustrating situation to be in, where if there's only 3.7 million people claiming PIP, which means that 3.7 million people are able to actually show, look, I am disabled, and these things can help people with like their blue badge applications. It can help with disabled bus passes, disabled rail cards,
Yeah.
concessionary tickets, free tickets if they need someone to attend with them.
Yeah.
But what's happening to the other 13 million disabled people? Where's the support for them?
Yeah.
And now they're thinking of taking away the support from hundreds of thousands of people who rely on it to live.
Yep. So at the moment, the DWP is stating that it expects around 3.2 million families to lose out financially if these changes go ahead. That's the DWP themselves stating that.
Mm-hmm.
And it estimates that around 370,000 people on PIP will no longer qualify. and a further 430,000 future claimants that would get less than they would previously have been entitled to. I mean, they're pretty shocking figures.
Yeah, I mean, what's that going to leave? 500,000 people on PIP? So what happens to them? What happens to the families? What happens to people who are going to be pushed into poverty?
Absolutely. And I think, we've seen, well, I've certainly seen recently stories around people who have had their PIP renewal come up and have not qualified for their renewal.
Even though their health circumstances have not
Absolutely.
changed.
Nothing has changed for them, nothing
Or
at
even
all.
worsened sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm sure I'm not saying what's unknown, but there's been a couple of cases in the media lately where people have taken their own lives
Hmm.
because their PIP has been stopped and therefore they've lost other support
Hmm.
and they can't financially
Yeah.
pay for the care that they need.
Yeah.
So these changes, they really are life changing, and the government is quite
Potentially.
flippant how they're approaching
Yeah.
this.
Potentially life-taking. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty worrying prospect for anybody on PIP
Hmm.
to know that these changes, if they come in, that not only could you lose your PIP, but it's the other support that
Yeah.
comes with that too.
Yeah. How many lives is it going to take?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then that's just PIP, and they're talking about other changes to other benefits too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's super important that we all speak up. Whether you are disabled or not, we
Yeah.
need to be
And
standing up.
and if you aren't a disabled person and you feel like you're going to be invincible for the rest of your life, it's very likely that you're going to have disabled people who you have around you, loved ones,
Absolutely.
grandparents,
Yeah.
family members, little siblings, younger siblings. So yeah, you really don't know what's going to happen in the future, and recording this and collating all this information has been quite triggering actually for both of
Yeah.
us. So please have a look through, please sign some petitions, and we will try and do another short podcast so we can share some more statistics and some more information with you, and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you for
See you
listening.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.